Hi there. Today's blog is about abundance and how to move towards a culture of abundance. First and foremost, you must stop fighting with each other. And I say you because I have nothing to do with fighting. It's so hard being wonderstruck as an adult in the modern context because there's no context for you to express the constant state of wonder that people like me feel. The way we view the world as a place of limitless creativity, as a place of constantly new awareness, as a place of infinite possibility, expanding on all levels in an organized fashion. I dream of this reality. I dream of this reality for you, for us, for the collective we. Today, Vladimir Putin is in North Korea, two cultures that are gripped by corruption, poverty, lack of infrastructure, social isolation. And for what? Because they have technology and they have prime location. The West is the problem. Our egos are so thick and so dense that it's almost become impossible to move past them. This constant self-preserving mechanism, it's self-oriented and self-afflicted and self-obsessed. So we'll never be able to move past it until we flood the economy with riches. In a digital economy, the best thing to do is to flood the economy with riches. Pay everybody exactly what they want. And eventually people will start to want more creative freedom, more opportunity to input on projects, more opportunity to display the upper critical functions, more opportunity to experiment and try new things and have a more holistic form of self-realization. The problem with these governments, the way they are, is number one, they're not corruption proof. And number two, they leave a small amount of decisions to be made by a small amount of decision makers. So we get these completely trumped up narratives. Oh, AI, oh, alternative species, oh, infinite amount of galaxies. We don't know. We really don't know just because we think we see it. Because the observer affects the observed. When I walk the God realization path, the abundant Christian realization is this: I am is the way. That's got huge implications. The implications are that we create it. We create the reality. And the more spiritually pure we are, the more we can be driven towards cultural excellence. That suffering is a mutation. It's not you have to have the darkness to have the light. It's you have to have receptivity if you're going to have creativity. You have to be able to open your heart to let it flood forward, or you're not going to be able to achieve the upper limits of the experience. Creativity and receptivity are the actual norms of this realm, not darkness and light. Darkness doesn't make you appreciate the light. It's essentially living in the absence of it. You're living in complete ignorance. If that's okay with you, I guess it's okay with you, but it's not okay with all of us. It's just such a tragedy for me to see nothing being accomplished. Day after day after day of allowing yourselves to be gouged arbitrarily, of all things. These are arbitrary gougings on the price. There's so much profit, so much untapped. Why shouldn't profit margins be capped? There's so much untapped profit margin going on that the cost of things really hasn't changed. If anything, it's driven the cost of things down and the price of things up, because it's completely arbitrary and therefore totally illegal by Western standards. And yet we have to endure for decades while this shit plays out. The only way I'm going to be long for this world is if I can get my creativity back. I don't know if you all know, but I went through a terrible ordeal where I was falsely accused of having mental illness. And I was mandated in interference by Western medicine. And as an outspoken advocate for other forms of medicine, this was extremely tragic to me because the diagnosis is wrong. I don't have bipolar disorders. My mood is constantly the same. I don't have schizophrenia. I don't have trouble talking to people. I don't have grandiose beliefs that people are coming after me. But I did have people come after me, both as a victim of gang stalking and a victim of RCMP brutality. But I also won a great victory in that battle where I did not allow myself to be biolocated and geofenced. And that was an aim behind the Covoid, to be able to marginalize and isolate a certain sector of the population that the other sector of the population requires in order to exist. We take all these tax dollars every year, we pay people to intervene on the lives of the disenfranchised. Now, one can't live without the other, but yet each are equally redundant. We have an apparatus in the West, and we should be ashamed of ourselves, that feeds unto itself. We let the lawyers and the judges and the courts and the justice of the peace get away with the Covoid entirely. We gave no checks and balance to anything Western medicine comes up with. We're just a victim to the constant barrage of pseudoscience that represents everything we see online. And it's no different than those filthy, disgusting, fear-mongering ads that used to perpetuate pharmaceuticals. I feel so bad for us, but there's so much more that we're capable of. And that's my prayer to God every day. Please allow me to get my creativity back. I survived it in check. I survived it with my heart still being where it's at. I'm above the social context, the social structures. I'm not at victim to them where I'm trying to fit that norm. That's a special blessing. I didn't off myself, which I very easily could have. The assignment of a person to the institutional mentality where ding dang, it's dinner time and your dinner's ready, ding dang, it's dinner time and your dinner's ready, ding dang, it's dinner time and your dinner's ready. That is so debilitating. If you have mental health issues, you need more stimulus than that. If you have mental health issues, an isolation chamber is not the best place for you. That's a place where you're going to be driven even more insane, because the lack of creative stimulation that goes on in those places is truly reprehensible. And then you've got the imbalance. The people that are there as the caregivers get paid so much to be there. And these people struggle to even get to their jobs because they've been intervened on. I was intervened on 12 times. 12 times while fighting the battle of my life, and won it, and I won that battle. And I was being completely canceled because I had achieved a level of God realization that is not allowed to be discussed within this context. We're only allowed to discuss what certain world leaders do, what certain Hollywood actors do, what certain celebrities do or don't do, or do behind the scenes or do in front of the scenes. But really, they're suffering the same tragic prison sentence that I'm suffering. A lack of creative projects, an intellect that is completely stagnant. Why should we emulate them? Why should we look up to them? Why should they be the only ones creating anything? Do we have to have a crash before we can acknowledge that my bank account is sitting with quadrillions of dollars in it in digital assets? It sits right there in my identity. So why can't I go around paying off personal and country debts? Pay off the Visa bill, pay off the MasterCard bill, pay off the Amex bill. Nobody owes nothing. Nobody owes nothing at an interest rate. You want some project funding? Here, have some project funding. You want your country's debt erased? America, wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice if we could erase your debt and then really take down your tax rate to the bare minimum? I'm not saying people aren't going to be born bad seeds the odd time. I'm not saying there's not going to be cause for intervention. I'm just saying we can do better at intervening on our own conflicts. Huh? So somebody snaps and creates a murder. They don't deserve a lifetime in a box. That's just heinous. They at least need space to wander, projects to build, things to learn. They're never going to be rehabilitated otherwise. Oh, I used to love to dance. I know I say it all the time. Just the opportunity to get into the flow with not prescribed, the same prescribed shit that gets you through the concert, an open flow of creativity. That's what the hip was, an open flow of creativity. And you could move within it, and it was always new and always beautiful. God, those were the days. Those were why I was born in Canada, not to endure this absolute winter of the soul. Self-obsession, poverty. Everybody's impoverished up here. Nobody can afford the rates, and they just keep growing. We've let competitive models make everything redundant and inaccessible. Unless you're willing to give your life to slavery, unless you're willing to give your life to hog one position, just like the anchors on the news. Why should we listen to the same sad bullshit for 40 years? Everyone that wants to try it should get an opportunity to try it. Can we not find a social reality where we can have more people trained in more and various things? Look at all the projects that are languishing. Africa doesn't even have power at night still. They're eating swallows. Look at the drought infested regions, how we neglect those. And all we do is prepare food parcels for the disaster inflicted. We should be stopping everything and remediating those situations. This is just such a bare minimum structure of organization. That's what we do need to understand. And we can rely on it to the tits, but we can't rely on it without critically analyzing its faults and failures. It's basic. It's crooked. It leaves behind so many people. It curtails limitless creative options. It kills genius. There's so many geniuses out there that could do so much and have the desire to try so many things. And yet we have zero avenue for that expression. None. Zero. Why is that okay? Why is that the golden era? I've yet to see one thing artificial intelligence can deliver. Reservation systems. All it is operating within a closed system to produce results that are predicted within that closed system. It's not brilliant. And yet, why are we still watching these warmongers commit mass genocide? Still committing mass genocide. That's just insane. There's so few people on the earth, to be honest, compared to the size of Earth. Everybody should have access to a vehicle when they want it. Everybody should have access to a boat when they want it. Everybody should have access to cash when they want it, to training when they want it. And we can organize easy through group chats, private wallets, person to business transactions. We can organize easily without these middlemen. Forget about the government structure. Look at the private finance structure. That's a redundant as fuck structure, especially since we have the private wallet. You keep your own finances. You can pay for things from your wallet to whoever you want to. You don't need a bank. Why should not everybody have unlimited data? I created a billion gigabyte network. We all have tons of data now. Tons of data at our beck and call. We should be stopping everything and making that everywhere, except for the pockets where we'd like to keep EMF free. Why should we have no EMF free pockets? How are we going to restore ourselves properly if we can't get to a place on Earth that's EMF free? Oh, I'd love to see this thing organized. This thing right now is just this big conglomerate, breathing, one leveled apparatus and infrastructure. And it could be so many diverse and various things. But we have to give education to all evenly. And we have to move them and get them where they're going. These are projects. They're projects. Better than perpetuating a totally nonsensical medicine that doesn't help anyone. Allopathic medicine, you're great for splint removal or splint. If I've hurt myself, you're great. That's all we need you for. The rest, you're not that good at. Chemically intervened. Injecting things into the interstitial fluid, do you know what that does to your body? It paralyzes you. It turns into MS and dementia every time. I'm no quack. This is the new reality. This is the business of reality. I studied this for a long time, introspectively, to come to the realizations that every single person that ever tried it came to. If you can't live in harmony with the world, if you're trying to constantly escape yourself, you're going to get exactly what we have. Nothing but conspiracy theories. Huge organizations claiming to be credible that are completely based in deception, like NASA. weather, the technology likes it at 14 degrees. That's all the technology knows. It can't stand humidity. We have a totally digital economy. And they want to lend it out at an interest rate. Why? You're still generating wealth. You're still creating it out of thin air. Give it to all the people on an even playing field. Again, you're going to have your opulence-seeking people for a long time until we get on top of training these people properly, until we get on top of training proper negotiators that can represent us multidimensionally. You're still going to have people seeking opulence. They just want to play all day. Go ahead, y'all, go ahead. But just don't rape anybody. Don't rape anybody or you're going to get raped. Why can't we rape the rapists? That'd be great. I'd love to see a world where we could just rape the rapists. You want to rape? I'll fucking rape your ass. That's what I did to Daddy. Daddy came and raped me. I raped him right back. Fucking rights I did. I don't need you, justice system. Justice system doesn't do anything for anybody. It's antiquated. It's prescriptive. It's following instructions. It's basic. It's arrogant. It's grandiose. It's expensive. You want to get raping? You're going to get raped. That's all I know. I'll cut off your dick in the process, I promise. Anybody still have a libido that's not completely driven by the desire to sexually achieve, sexually conquest? Why can't there be a balance? As if God wants us having that much sex. God didn't say, go down to earth and fornicate as much as humanly possible. God didn't say, blow your load into as many girls' faces as you can, convince them to do that. No, you're addicted. You're addicted. You need that to feel whole. But that's not where your wholeness lies. You can do it your whole life and move nowhere and have zero realization until you balance the interplay between receptivity and creativity. You're never going to find a balance until you get on the forefront of a project where your moves matter. Again, this pseudo decision maker addiction that they have, their tiny little world that they run in, running all these elections, getting access to all these resources, gouging, and the tax rates go up on top of it all, just impoverishing the shit out of people just to pretend to have the illusion of being on the forefront of something when they're completely contained in something arbitrary and mundane. It's going to rain again in Vernon. Yay. Ever since the forest fires, we get our clouds silver nitrated every morning. Can never get out of it. We don't even get a summer this year. No sweltering heat for us. Silver nitrate every morning. How perfect. Grandiosity at its finest. But the steel roofs still exist that are getting so hot, that are reflecting into the fires, that are causing the fires, or the lightning. No, there's no lightning. They're reflectors in space, creating forest fires, devouring oxygen. It was a malicious species that was coming at Earth. These dictators, they need those fucking forest fires to make you feel scarcity, to make you feel terrorized, to make you feel hopeless, to stop all human ingenuity. Whoever it was, whether it was human or extraterrestrial, that was its aim. And I killed it off. Finally, one night when it was banging on my door, it ceased to be. There was no biolocation allowed. I forced it, so it had to come through me, and then it couldn't. So now what? So now we can move forward. We can move forward without creating weather patterns. We can move forward without disrupting the ionosphere in the entire globe. We can move forward without letting poverty languish on. We can move forward without watching the constant reiteration of social normalization. You should be ashamed of yourselves, Hollywood. Another knockoff of Saudi and Jonah is coming your way. Taylor Swift's latest disaster of a train wreck relationship is supposed to be called the love of era and the love of eons. You're all so self-obsessed right now. Oh, it's so embarrassing. It means nothing. That's just a completely arbitrary, deceptive. She's not in that kind of love right now. When it existed, we let it pass us by. We just erased it. Two people in love with the truth. Two people wedded at the forefront of creativity, in the flow of the moment. It was spectacular, and it will be again. We don't lose our progress. I'm as rich as a person can be. I've got quadrillions of dollars in my bank account, and yet I'm totally impoverished. Socially, I'm isolated. My finances robbed from me, just disallowed entirely. I walk into the Scotiabank. I say, can you please reconcile the fact that I have a quadrillion digital dollars here that I want to spend? Nope. We're going to make sure that you can't ever see that page again. For our own good, for our own slavery. Well, that's too bad. What I could be doing right now with my time, because I'm capable. Anyway, I'm so sick. I've only got one kidney working right now. It's because I ate that poison that was put on my vegetables. Somebody tried to kill me and it worked. It's just a long, slow death. Just what I need. There was no town of Lennox Addington spraying pesticide that day. Someone pesticided my vegetables and I ate it. And it killed one of my kidneys. So now I'll never have my nice hairdo. It'll just fall out for the rest of my life. Fucking agonizing me every day. I'll never have the hope of true love because nobody wants anybody that looks like me, 6 foot tall with their hair falling out. I can't even use the Shilajit properly because it's cut now. It's not the same potency as it was. Because we bankrupted them. Such a special product. Fulvic and humic acid, 82 minerals, such a special product. And yet we bankrupted it. Bankrupted. Hospital-based GDP. Keep the tax dollars running. Keep these guys employed. Keep them on vacation. Keep them watching TV. Keep making TV. Means nothing. It amounts to nothing. There's zero progress in it. Zero personal growth. And you got poor Vladimir Putin meeting with his neighbor today, and the whole world dying to create a war over it. Just dying for a third world war. Just dying to push the nuclear button every day. There is no nuclear. It's oxygen harvesting. If you take an oxygen molecule off a water molecule, you can replicate another water molecule. That's so much positivity. There's so much positivity in that. The end of all the world's water problems, right there. Calgary is bankrupt of water right now. Well, thank fuck for that. They deserve it. I'm still pissed at Alberta for coming at us with privatization. We had no reason for that, Alberta. You're not a have province anymore. You don't even have water. We're selling all our water to Nestle because America needs it first. But yet there's no nuclear. There's no bitumen. They're just, when they're saying it, they're transporting bitumen, they're transporting that freed oxygen molecule. It's completely healthy. They just don't want to share the technology and organize so that all these people are working on all these projects. All I have is half of my vision. All I can do is remember bits and pieces. I've actually been through such a great amount of trauma. And now that I have to do it without weed, I can't stand it. I loved smoking my weed, but smoking it all day, every day, socially isolated me. I should have put it in its perspective and used it more therapeutically. I didn't need it all day, every day. But I loved the flow that it put me in. Anyway, vibrational energy, vibrational medicine, it restores balance to things that have become disrupted, broken, or disharmonious. An X-ray can only show you one moment in time. Just because you see stagnation or what appears to be a tumor, or what creates fibroids and tumors and all that sort of stuff, is disharmony. It's an infiltration of pesticides, hormones. No matter what you throw at it, it's still stagnation. Needles can still move it. These guys, you can move that energy. You can still take the vibrational frequency of the tumor and cancel it. You can cancel that vibration entirely. I would love to see a heyday where we are working together and nobody craves egomaniacal, megalomaniacal opulence and grandiosity ever again. I feel so bad for you people that are out there trying to prove yourselves, that don't recognize the wisdom where it exists, that don't help people collectively, but instead look at the amount of money you spend on court systems and hospitals, your doctors, your judges. Look at the amount of money you spend on those people. They should be the lowest paid among us so that they can do it for dignity and with dignity, so that they can do it with the right intent to truly, beyond a shadow of a doubt, prove that someone committed a crime and deserves rehabilitation. But yet all they do is incarcerate people so that they can get paid to take care of them. Look at how much nurses cost us. Huge amounts of money. Huge amounts of money that we could be putting tiny people in tiny homes, middle Canada, opulent mansions, but community-based living in opulent mansions, because we don't need them. They don't serve us in any way. Having that kind of resource, to have that kind of opulence, does not serve your creative spirit in any way. Look at my sweet sacred M. He definitely walked away from something so beautiful because he's in a state of paranoia, because he really can't relate anymore to new opportunities. Can't trust his gut. We don't even have discussions in the lunchroom anymore. Just scrolling. Just self-contained interaction with a non-entity. Look at what it's doing to your brain waves. Passing time, a Gregorian model. When we know the angelic calendar now, we know how the human being cycles through its different states and how to access those states to make the most of each of our days. I feel bad for us. Yes, I do. I can't give up. My prayer is going to be that I can get to a place where I can create serious vision for these young children that have the audacity to be called Gen Z. Like I said, they're generation love, they're generation blue. Their vibrations are so pure. And yet they're not even getting fair access to the social construct, to the fruits of our limitlessness, which is what? Gas-powered vehicles, essentially, right now. Gas-powered vehicles, that's the best we can offer our kids. Oh, okay, I suppose people are going at warp speed right now. You have the opportunity to travel at warp speed in a very confined space track right now. And the rest, you're just being fed bullshit. It's pure deception out there right now. Pure deception. So tragic. What a waste. When it can all be seen by its resonant frequency. If we magnetize it, if we take that light reading and turn it into a Hertz frequency, we can then work with it from there. We can get rid of these garbage wastes. Look at that. Like, why? Why should we be making that much garbage on the run of an individual and still hammering at it? We're so close to being out of trees, and we haven't even planted any hemp yet. I wish we had more to offer than we do. I wish I could feel excited about some of the things that are happening, but my access to it is so limited by my job title. The level of advancement that I've achieved has no say. There's no grounds for it. There's no grounds to test it on. If I was a judge, I'd be asking the proper questions. Oh, your semen was found at the scene and therefore you're guilty. How do we know that? He's saying he's innocent. How was his semen found at the scene? How do we know it wasn't tampered with during the processing of the DNA just to put up another fall guy? What if he was being retaliated on? What if this is more police brutality than just dying to get an arrest without having to do their job? What if another innocent man has to go through that kind of torture? We don't even have access to new ways that have been done previously because we've neglected it entirely. So for the next 100 years, what do? Do we just let that ridiculously incessant dream of Hollywood where 2% of the population lives in a psychically mediated world? Like, or do we, like Gordy, develop our telepathy? Well, you've put these awful chips in us now. Chips that regulate our ceiling. How do we work away from that exactly? Don't tell me you ran around with the Covoid and you weren't jamming chips up people's noses. Nobody in their right mind would say, if there's a virus, then we're going to send an army of people with swabs to meet you. Nobody would say that. But what they did say was, let's swab as many people as possible right into the brainstem. Temperature check, cheek swab. Like, we shouldn't even have had anybody come near us, especially if we were isolating. We're going to isolate and then walk past the people that are walking, having everyone walk past them. That person, everyone he comes in contact with, whichever one has the COVID, then everyone behind him gets the COVID. I'm watching us fall asleep and I don't want to see it. I'm on team wake up. I'm on team God realization. You've got heretics that are willing to say anything these days to get you off your track and off your trail. But your gut knows, you have an intuition in you. If I could just get my Miss Tickleberry back. That was such a great little story, but it got robbed from me during that whole, again, 4 phones, 4 machines, my car, my license, my credibility, my jobs, everything just to intervene and say that because I was different, I was ill. What a tragedy. But I still walk with my clout. You can't take my God realization from me. And I had my God realization at 44. You still can't mess with me. Still can't take me out and take me over and isolate and impoverish me. And you still can't refute the fact that I have quadrillions of digital assets, quadrillions of dollars of digital assets in my bank account. It's still there. All for the using. And I say, just keep making money. We don't need decision makers, centralized or otherwise. We need project coordinators, people that are capable of training good teams to go out and get things done. We need centers of organization where we can come and say, look, we need this done. This needs to be done. Or what if this could be done? Or how can we use this to create that? Oh God, you've got my little genius cousin is spying on other countries because you guys are still fighting with each other. At least it would force us out of a competitive model if we flood the economy with money. Brilliant, brilliant idea. Anyway, thanks for listening today. It's just passing time until I can get my creativity back. I love you lots. Okay, hang in there, dream big, and open your heart so that your mind can receive that which your soul has to offer. And you can start to have that upward progression of realization that makes this reality so dynamic and so worth being a part of. Don't forget, be ashamed of yourselves. There's so much poverty going on, unchecked and unmitigated. There's so many false accusations being perpetuated. There's so much corruption. There's so much profit gouging. The only thing you can do is hang your heads in shame and recognize this as the epitome of the dark age. What a waste of a new millennium. Love ya. Thanks for listening.